Today, we're going to be doing something a little bit different today. Today, we're going to do a community question from you.
For me, I'm like, wouldn't it be so much easier if you can work on yourself and get to the point where you knew what you wanted, so then you could confidently say what you want instead of being like, let me fake this confidence and I don't know what I really want.
What year did you decide to work on yourself? If you're not qualifying to see like if this is the person that I could see myself spending the rest of my life with, or if you're just trying to fix somebody and you're not really focusing on cultivating a bond or a union with a person that you could really see yourself progressing with, you have to really look at yourself and say, am I doing the right steps? Welcome to the 1024, where we talk about love, finance, and anything in between. We're your hosts, Brian
and Dr. Sam.
And today we're going to be doing something a little bit different today. Today we're going to do a community question from you. It may not be a question, it's a scenario. She looked it up and she's going to give me the scenario or whatever it is.
It's a scenario. So This scenario is more looking for a male's perspective on it, or just to understand why men think the way they think or why they do what they do. So there was this young lady who had been in a relationship with a man, and this man told her that he no longer wanted to pursue a relationship and he just wanted sex. And she was like, well, if that's the case, I wish you the best of luck. I just want to move on. Then a month or so later, he comes back and says he's in love with her and he doesn't just want sex and he wants a relationship. And she said, you pretty much wasted my time. You laughed in my face when I said I wanted a relationship. And now you're saying you miss me and you want a relationship. So this has happened to me. And it gives me the question of, why do men act this way? Is it men really just don't know what they want, which I find very hard to believe, or do they like playing games?
All right. So the first part of the question is, do men really know what they want? Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you're saying that for yourself, you find that hard to believe. Why do you find that hard to believe?
Because men give off the assumption that they know what they want. They go after what they want. So it's very hard to believe that all of a sudden, when it comes to women or when it comes to relationships, they have no idea what they want.
Okay. Do you feel like women know what they want?
I think most women want a relationship. They try to lie and say they don't and to appease men, but I think most women want a relationship.
Okay. In regular everyday life, outside of relationships, do you think women know what they want?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. The reason I'm asking these questions is because a lot of times for people in general, they tend to give a facade of knowing what they want. Just in regular everyday life. Oh yeah, like I'm going to school, I want to be a doctor, or I'm going to school, I want to do this. Whatever it is, like they tend to really portray themselves as if they have everything together. That's what the biggest issue with debt is, right? Nobody wants to talk about money, but everyone has money issues. Right? They always give the facade, oh, I got this fancy car, I got this fancy house, I got this situation going on. And you're just like, wow, you're traveling to all these different countries. You must really have it put together. On Instagram, all these things on Instagram are the most beautiful place, and it's just the ultimate happiness thing. And it's not always true. A lot of that's smoke and mirrors. So I think that a good portion of men do know what they want. But I also think there's a good portion of men that think they know what they want. And then later on, it becomes, you don't really know what you want until you've lost it. So I don't know this person's scenario as a relationship. If they were together for a year or 2 years or something like that, and she left, she's like, fuck this, I don't want to do this anymore. And he was like, that's fine, leave. And then months later, he was like, actually, I want what you want. That may not be him playing games. That may be, oh, actually, I missed out on a good opportunity.
Yeah, I think that's bullshit. I think men should know what they want. They seem to know what they want, but then they like to play games. If you knew that you wanted just sex, and the person asked, do you want just sex? And this individual said, yep, this is all I want from you. This is not a random thing that you're saying to someone. There's emotional tie to that. There's implications to that. So for you to come back several months later and be like, oh, it's because I missed out. And now I realize what I missed out on. You're toying with someone's emotions. Maybe this person is a psychopath. Maybe they don't care about people's emotions. But I think that's bullshit to say, oh, I'm seeing what I missed out on before I know what I want.
Okay. You think it's bullshit to intentionally wait?
Yeah, I think it's bullshit to intentionally wait and toy with someone's emotions in the process.
No, I agree with that. I completely agree with that. But I'm saying that not everybody's in that category.
So you believe there are people out there who are not toying with people's emotions that will state that they want just sex, they don't want a relationship, break someone's heart, and then 2 months later come back and be like, psych, nah, I actually want a relationship, and they didn't mean to break that person's heart.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think there's a category of men that are like, this is what I believe I want because I'm trying to protect my own feelings. I want this, I want sex, I don't want anything more than that. And then when the person leaves, then, oh shit, this could have been something more than that. I just didn't give it an opportunity.
Yes, to me, I think that is completely unfair. And there is a group of men that I think that's the majority of what they do. They wait until it's too late. You have messed with someone's emotions, and then now you want to be like, oh, I missed out and I had time to think about it. You should have thought about it when it was occurring, but I had time to think about it. This person is now wanting to move on, find someone that actually loves them. And then you want to come into the picture and be like, oh, I messed up. I actually miss you. I actually blah, 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 blah. But that's fucking up that person's life. It's messing up their future. It's messing up the opportunity for them to actually find someone that loves them. And I think men knew all along this person probably still just wanted sex, but thought this was an end.
Yeah, I mean, that depends on if she said yes, right?
She said no, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I guess you had a past experience with this, right? So maybe that's why you feel strongly about it. But I'm saying that may have not been what the actual situation happened, where she was like, okay, let me get re-involved with this guy and let me go ahead and see where this goes. Just because the guy comes back and says, hey, actually, you were right, and I just was not on point with you at that point, doesn't mean that because he feels that way, that this is a situation that's going to occur and happen.
Yeah, this is not only my experience. This has been an experience for several women where they are trying to move on. They have fuckboys in their life. They have toxic men in their life that are using them for sex. They want to pursue a relationship. This person tells them they don't want to pursue a relationship. They move on, and then this person tries to come back in their life. This is not just me. This is several women this has happened to.
I agree that there's fuckboys out there.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't talk about fuckboys. That's the obvious thing, right? A lot of men, or we could even say the majority of men, want to just have sex because they just want to have sex and not have any ties towards anything else. But the question is, this specific scenario, this guy says, I want to have sex, and then she leaves, and then he's like, actually, I want more. So in that dichotomy, if you're thinking about one being true, he just wanted to have sex, and then later coming back and thinking, okay, this is what I want differently, you're saying that I don't believe you. But people can grow. People can realize that, hey, this is a situation that was not necessarily right for me, and I'd be willing to move forward with you. If I'm in a situation where I just want to have sex or whatever, that is equivalent to me being depressed. That's like, I have nothing to look forward to in life. That's how it equates to me, right? So if I'm in that position in life, then I can't make a solid decision being, hey, I just want to grow old with you and live the rest of my life with you. I'm worried about myself. I can't help anybody else. What I'm saying is there's also a category of men that it's like, that's not the situation that's going on. Now, I don't know what the percentage is, right? Your percentage is probably a lot higher, substantially higher. But I know for a person that is actually trying to do the right thing, they're not trying to break somebody's heart. You know, they're not trying to just make people upset and they're like, fuck you, I don't care about you. That's not the majority of people, I wouldn't think. But maybe it is, who knows?
Yeah, I think there is a small percentage of men that are what you say. They're going through some sort of depressive state, and this is why they're acting this way. But I think the large percentage of men that do this to women are fuckboys. I don't think they are intentionally going out to hurt. To be a fuckboy doesn't mean you are intentionally doing it. It's your actions that make you a fuckboy. So if you are hurting someone's feeling over and over, and your intention is like, oh, I didn't intend to hurt someone's feelings, you still hurt their feelings. There's a quote by Louis C.K. that says, I don't have the opportunity to tell you when you're hurt, whether you're hurt or not. So you can't say, oh, my intention was not to hurt you, so therefore you weren't hurt. If you hurt someone's feelings, you hurt someone's feelings. At the end of the day, this is what they're feeling.
Yeah, but the question isn't about feelings.
Yeah, the question is about why are you doing what you're doing? You're like, they're not intending to hurt their feelings. So
No, the question is
why men do that? Why do men do this? Why do men say they claim that they know what they want? Men are very like, I'm a man. I know what I'm what. Yeah. And then when it comes to relationships, they toy with women's emotions.
Oh, yeah. So the question was, do they know what they want, or are they just playing games?
Right.
So that's what the actual question was. I think there's a category of men that think they know what they want, but they don't actually know what they want. That's what I'm saying. Especially if you're going through an emotional situation. The only time that I don't want to have a relationship, I just want company or whatever, is because I didn't feel like I was able to have a relationship. I cannot be in this type of bond with somebody because it's not going to be fair to you.
So do you tell that person, I cannot be in this type of bond with you because it's not fair to you?
Yeah, you have to.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to. That's why I'm saying I think there's a group of men that are in that category. I think you're right. The majority of men that this person's probably talking about is a fuckboy or whatever. I think there's a lot of bad men out there in that field. Mm-hmm. And it could be because they're just bad people, or because they've grown up in an environment where their parents got divorced and the situation just wasn't good for them. Mm-hmm. So therefore they came up with this to protect themselves. But ultimately, if the question is, are men playing games, or do men know what they're talking about? There's a percentage of men that know what they're talking about and know what they want. There's a percentage of men that think they know what they're talking about and don't actually know what they need. And then there's a percentage of men that are just lying. Now, this question kind of diverted into which is the most. And I think the most is the people that are lying. Yeah, I think that's the majority of men when they're saying, I want to have sex with you and I don't want anything else. And then you leave and then they come back to you and they say, hey, I want something else. I think the majority of them are probably lying.
So there is a show on Insecure, and the main character's ex-boyfriend. There's no spoiler because if you haven't watched season 1, you're at least
not missing out.
You're 4 years behind. So this is not a spoiler. The main character goes and starts fucking this chick that he's met at the bank, and he's showing up to nights with her, having movie nights, going to her family events. And then he goes and tells her, oh, I don't want this to be a serious thing. And she says, you don't think you're a fuckboy, but you're a fuckboy. These are fuckboy actions. You using someone and leading them on and making them think that this is something that it's not is fuckboy actions. You pretending that this is a relationship or having relationship benefits is fuckboy actions. If you were to tell a woman, I want nothing from you but sex from the jump, there are women that are going to be like, okay, cool. And there are going to be women that are going to be like, no, that's not what I want. I want a relationship. But you toying and going back and forth between the two, knowing that a woman wants a relationship, is fuckboy actions.
Because of the show.
No, in real life.
Well, I'm
just giving an example because people watch the show.
I mean, I think there's plenty of examples of men that are fuckboys. I think that there's also plenty of examples of people that know what they want and then they don't know what they want. I think that women do the same thing. I think that in a sense of, I want a relationship with you, but what I really want is I want to be able to go out to eat and show you off to my friends. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the same kind of thing. You don't really want the relationship. You want the benefits of the relationship. And I think that's a difference. It's a nuanced difference, but I don't necessarily just think that all men know what they want.
Yeah, that was my question because I feel men present that. If you don't know what you want, to state that I don't know what I want, then to be like, oh, yep, this is what I want from you. I want just sex. And then that person is in a relationship with you or a situationship or whatever you have it. And then all of a sudden switch up. That's playing with someone's emotions.
Okay, so hold on. So that's playing with somebody's emotion or that's being honest?
No. I'm saying switching up constantly.
Switching up constantly.
It's playing with someone's emotions.
Yeah. Okay. I guess I misunderstood what you were saying.
Yeah, I think for the most part, I think women would be unattracted to a guy that says, I don't know what I want. And if you don't know what you want, I think for women and for men, you need to figure that shit out before you get into a relationship or before you bring another individual into it. If you're a man, you don't know what you want, figure that shit out. If you're a woman and you don't know what you want, figure that shit out. Don't bring someone else into it to try to figure it out while you're playing with them.
Yeah. I don't know if that's true. I know what you're saying, but I don't know if that's true. I think that there's a category of people that just like, hey, I don't know what I want because this was my situation and I'm still hurting from this situation.
You need to heal from that. You don't bring someone.
Yeah, but like I think that the other person receiving that is not going to be like, well, go figure that shit out. I'm out. I don't think that's necessarily the case a lot of times. I think sometimes they'll be like, oh, I'm sorry, but I'll be here for you. I'll support you in this situation that you're going through, right? I understand that you're going through the situation, but you know, maybe you just need somebody to talk to and I could be here to talk to. Like that's a lot of times the position women take, right? They're not obligated to do that, right? So I think a lot of times women find themselves trapped into a situation where the man is not really sure what side of the fence he wants to be on, but then the woman is like, yeah, but I like him. And then like she kind of keeps it going because for a woman, she's afraid of rejection. To her, if he says like, I'm not sure which side to be on, it's okay. And then she just justifies it, right? In her mind and in reality. So when that happens, it's like, okay, now you're in this relationship where he's not going towards a relationship and you're like, you played me. And I'm like, well, maybe not. I told you I didn't know what I wanted. I told you that this was a situation and this was something that you decided to latch onto.
No, I'm saying most men don't say that. They don't say, I don't know what I want. Most men say, I want sex. Most men say what they think they want.
Okay, so when do men say that?
Men say they want sex, like not a lot, but men say whether or not they want a relationship, they want sex. It's usually the woman in the situation who is the one that pursues or the one that elaborates or asks for an explanation on what the actual relationship is. And it's because men do this like go with the flow type thing. So it's like, what actually do you want? What do you want from this relationship? I remember before I got into this relationship and I was dating, I became very intentional, very direct because I recognize that a lot of men do the go with the flow aspect and see what they can get out of the relationship and see what's the minimum.
That's actually why I disagree with you because that's the norm.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
No. The norm for men and women. Like the difference with you was that you were straightforward. That you were like, okay, where's this going? Are we doing this? Are we doing that? Which direction are we taking? That's different than the norm.
I think that's what I'm saying. I think I did that because I was sick and tired of the bullshit of going with the flow. Like, I need to know if you're about to waste my time. This is what I want. If you don't want it, have a good life.
But how many people do that is what I'm saying, right? So I think the majority of women, their guy is not being specific of what direction he wants to take. And then the woman is latching onto that.
Right. I completely agree with you on that because I think there are a lot of women that the man goes with the flow and then they go with the flow as well. Even though in their mind, they know 100%, I want a relationship. I want to be married.
Right.
But the man is like,
Right. But then fast forward into their timeline and then all of a sudden the woman is pissed off because the man doesn't want a relationship. And you're like, you played games with me. You're toying with me. And that's where that conversation comes in a lot of times, I think. I think there's a category of men that don't 100% know what they want. And then women kind of support that. I don't know if that's the majority of issue, but that's a big part of the issue.
So note to women, stop supporting the bullshit. If he doesn't know what he wants, move on. Find somebody that knows what you want because you know what you want.
Yeah, that's true. You got to another point in life where you're like, look, I've been through this bullshit where the guy didn't know what he wanted, but now I'm at a point where I know what I want. So that's what I'm looking for.
Right.
And then that's what you get.
Right.
Right. But you can't actually get what you want if you're not going to actually have a boundary set for that thing.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, I think that's a really good conversation.
Women have this thing about our personalities where we try to appease folks, and it shows up even in our relationships. So the idea of not being amenable or agreeable, if a man is like, I want to just have sex, and this person was like, no, women would be agreeable and be like, okay, I'll take what I can get. Instead of just being like, this is not what I want. I want a relationship. I want sex, the commitment. I want the trust. I want all of that. But instead they take, because he's giving me these scraps, might as well take these scraps. And it's like, in your heart of hearts.
I don't believe that. I mean, I do believe it, but like not to the degree that you're saying it, right? Like I believe that from my experience, a lot of women don't know what they want.
From my experience, a lot of women do know what they want, but take what they're given.
And mentally, they know what they want, but in real life, they don't know what they want.
Mentally, they know what they want. They don't vocalize or put actions towards what they want.
So in real life,
yeah,
they don't know what they want.
Yeah.
So like you're thinking, oh, I want to have a relationship. I want to have kids. I want to get married. I want to do the whole nine. I want to have commitment. I want these things. And then there's this guy that's like, I don't really know what I want. I just want to have sex. Is that cool? And she's like, well, I like to have sex. I guess that's fine for now in her head. But then in reality, she's just going with the flow. How the fuck is the guy supposed to know that you're completely against it?
One of my key rules to like my girlfriends is do not go with the flow. Like that is one thing that I'm 100% against, because most of the people that go with the flow, like my female friends, know exactly what they want. I would like to be married.
Well,
going with the flow doesn't get you there.
Yeah, but that depends on the goal. I think there's a whole generation of women that don't necessarily want that long-term commitment. At least that's what it seems like.
Yeah, there are some women like that. Those women that don't want that the goal or the end goal to be marriage. That's completely fine. If you want a relationship that is casual, that's completely fine. That's also a goal. My goal is to have a casual relationship. I'm speaking to the women that do not want a casual relationship. Going with the flow means there's no goal that you're achieving. Going with the flow is like, we see what happens. Yeah. But in your head, you know what you want to happen. So you're just like, if it doesn't work out, now you've invested all these years into this person. There's emotions tied to it, but you decided to go with the flow. And now this person is like, well, we were going with the flow.
No, I think you have a good insight on that, because like I think for you did it in a way that didn't seem overbearing. It didn't seem like too much. It seemed like you were serious about the direction that you wanted to go in life with me. And that is points. Like that's like, oh, like this person is a legitimate person that wants to have a future.
Right.
Yeah.
And I will say, just so people know, after our second date, and I was like, where do you see this going? And I gave you options. Like, do you want just a fuck buddy? Do you just want sex? This is one and done. I don't want to see you again. I have no interest. Or are you looking for a committed relationship? Yeah. And so for me, I was like, once you tell me what you want, we'll be on the same page. And I think you were like, we're working towards a committed relationship. And I was like, okay, we're on the same page. Right. But that's what I want also. Exactly. But if you had said we were, oh, this is one and done, I'd be like, okay, you have a great life. Or if you said like, we're just fuck buddies, you have a great life because I'm looking for a committed relationship. Right. And if I said, I don't really know which one I want to pick, you have a great life because I'm looking for a committed relationship. Exactly. And it's really just one question, right? Like one question figures it out for the woman. Right. Right. Like you're the first person that has asked a question like that. Right. I think that there's this traditional sense that the man knows exactly everything that happens in the world. Right. And the women are like, okay, now I'm under your wing. Like wherever you take me is where I'm going. And that's such a passive way that it's not effective anymore. I completely agree. I think women, for the most part, like we're waiting for the man to take the lead. And when a man doesn't know what he wants, you're taking the lead into an abyss, into darkness. And if you know what you want, why would you want to be led by someone that doesn't know what they want? Right. Like you know what you want, so go with someone that also knows what they want. But instead it's like, okay, I'll follow what he does. And it's like, yes, you know what you want. You want a relationship. Yeah, I think only follow in someone else's footsteps
if there's someone that's worth following. If you're not qualifying to see like if this is the person that I could see myself spending the rest of my life with, or if you're just trying to fix somebody and you're not really focusing on cultivating a bond or a union with a person that you could really see yourself progressing with, you have to really look at yourself and say, am I doing the right steps in finding another partner? Am I actually doing the right steps so I can find a partner that's going to be successful growth for my future? Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. The only reason why I got to the point where I was able to ask that question of you was because I went through the bullshit. I had been in a relationship that the person didn't know what they wanted. I had been in a relationship where the person just wanted sex. And I was like, I'm done with this. I don't want to do this anymore. This has been 10 plus years of dating people that don't know what they want, dating people that don't have the same values as me. My next relationship, you're going to have to want a committed relationship with me. If you don't want a committed relationship with me, you can go along and find somebody else that wants the same thing you want.
So let's pause on that, right? So that's great that you worked on yourself and you got to a point where you're like, okay, this is make or break. This is what needs to happen, right? What would have happened if you kept finding guys that weren't about that life, weren't about committing, weren't about having a long-term relationship, just wanted to have sex? Like that's all you could find. What I think happens is women don't find quality men, and therefore they start justifying because their other needs come into play, right? Like I do want a partner. I do want someone that is going to bring me security. And those feelings start to become more important. And therefore they get looser and looser with their boundary. What do you think happens?
I think that happens also. I think women need to get to a place where they are happy single. I was happy as fuck single. So it didn't matter whether or not I was going to find a man that aligned with my commitment, because I literally legit could have stayed single for 5 years and been like, I'm happy with myself. I'm happy with where I am in life. There was a point when I had just ended my previous relationship where I was really down in the dumps. I was depressed, crying. I didn't feel worthy, with all those things. And then when I worked myself up to the point that I loved myself and I was like, Sam, you're the shit. I was happy single. I was okay being single. The only reason why I started dating is because my friends told me to start dating.
So I was going to ask something similar to that, right? You may have been absolutely happy being single, right? But the outside perspective is different, right? When women just decide to be single for 3, 4, 5 years, men are like, well, what's wrong with you? What's the problem? Because if you're single for that amount of time, that means you don't get along with people. What's going on? And like, are you bitter about your ex? Is that what's going on? And like your friends are like, when are you going to be in a relationship? Because you're this year old and you need to get married soon.
Yeah, I am fortunate not to have friends like that. I am fortunate not to have time clock friends where they're like, hey, you're in your 30s, you need to get married. I think people...
But I guess my question is, because your friends are like, hey, you should start dating, you thought on it. You know, maybe I should start dating, right? At what level do you take in the external environment? At what level are you like, this is information that I need, right? Or at what level do you loosen up your boundary that you set for yourself?
I think for me, the reason why I actually decided to start dating was something that I brought up to my friends, where I was like, should I start dating? I mean, it's been a couple years. I had already been on that, whatever. And my friends were like, yeah, these are the apps you should go on. And then even when I was like, yeah, these are all trash men. Like I said, it didn't hurt me. If I didn't find a man, I was completely okay with it. I think my friends were just encouraging of my, should I go back out there? And they're like, yeah, go back out there.
Was that good advice?
No, I didn't find any quality men.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I'm still looking, fellas.
Hence my case. No. Seriously, though, because this is the difficulty for me. Because if it's something I don't want to do, I'm most likely not going to do it.
Right.
I have to convince myself that I do want to do it to be able to do it.
Right.
So you were in a situation where you were fine how you were.
Yep.
Under that, did you want to do that? Or was it your friends were, you should do this, and then you were influenced because they were your friends to do it?
No, it was actually during COVID. I finished up my PhD program, and literally how I viewed it was, what else do I have to do? Like it was like,
Ah,
I'm bored.
yeah,
I'm done doing this really large thing that took up a lot of my life.
yeah.
I'm done doing that. What else? Like, all right, let me go out.
I'm glad that you said that because that makes a lot of sense. Like, I think a lot of times people get in relationship because they're coming from a void in them, right? And that void is leading them like, I need this, I need this, I need this. And they don't even know what they need, but they're like, I need this other person with me because that means I'm loved. That means I'm accepted. That means people appreciate me.
Yeah.
That means I'm not rejected. That's what happens, right? And when you're having a relationship based off of that, the dynamic is so lopsided that it's not going to work regardless of what you try in the relationship. Right. But for you, you did a lot of self-help. You did a lot of self-actualization, a lot of self-awareness. And then you got to a point where you're like, this is something I could try.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens. And it was like a take it or leave it kind of thing. Like, I don't really need it, but if it could add to my life, then why wouldn't I?
I don't think I'll ever say I'm complete because, like I say, healing is a process. I'm always continuing to heal. But I think I had gotten to a point where my healing was in a really good place. I was happy with myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, like it was more of like an added benefit and not feeling a void. I did not feel there was a void inside of me that needed to be filled or completed by a man. I told you about the bad dates that I have. If you're not meeting my standard, why am I stressing myself over this? No, like I'm good. I don't need you to add stress to my life. I don't need this. Like I'm good without you. This is fine with me. So for me, dating was not, oh, I need someone to complete me. That wasn't what I was thinking.
What I've learned is like there's two types of people with an abundant mindset and then people with a scarcity mindset. The people that get into relationships that need that relationship are coming from a scarcity mindset. What I've learned is people that are in a scarcity mindset, you can't really talk to them about abundant things because they just don't hear you. You're on a different wavelength. Right? So something that is abundant for you, which is just an added benefit, this relationship is an added benefit, to them is like desperation, I need this. If you were to talk to yourself when you're in the stage of needing a relationship, right? What advice would you have listened to?
It's so funny you should say that because I had conversations with my friends when I was in this relationship and I got out of it, and all my friends were like, I hated this man. And I was like, well, y'all tell me this while I was in the relationship. And they were like, you wouldn't have listened to it. You weren't in the place where you could take that information. So I needed to get to a point, like my threshold of like things that were unacceptable. And once that person crossed that line of things that were unacceptable, like I hate liars. That's one thing that everyone knows about me. If you know me, you know I hate people who lie. Honesty is my biggest thing. And so when this person had lied to me, that was my cutoff. I can't do anymore. You lied, that's it. And I was able to come out of that relationship. And for me, once I came out of that relationship, I still had that scarcity mindset. I was still like, I am completely unworthy of love. There has to be something that's wrong with me for this to have happened.
Are we able to know what you lied about?
So
he said he was 6'4" and he was actually 6'2". That was it.
No,
that was like, fuck you, guy. I knew you weren't that tall.
No. So this is a person that I had known for, oh God, like 6 years. And
well, the reason I asked is because like I'm trying to put myself in a woman's shoes, which is very difficult because like I'm a size 11 and I don't fit into women's shoes. That was a pretty good dad joke, I'm telling you. But like no, but like what I think about is if I'm a woman and I have a hard time with boundaries, I have a hard time expressing my voice and telling people this is what I want in life. If that's the case, then even if the person is not being 100% with me, and they're making up lies and stuff like that, my first thing is to not create waves. Like I'll be like, I don't want to make this such a bad situation that I'm rejected. That's how I would feel in that situation. So that's why I'm like curious as to like, at what point was it enough is enough? Was it the first lie, or was it a buildup of lies, or was it one extreme catastrophic? There's no one that would respect themselves by going forward with this situation.
So what I didn't know was it was an abundance of lies. I didn't know that it was like all these lies leading up to this lie.
So to you, it was one big lie.
Yeah, it was one big lie. And for me, I talked about this last time, I struggle with boundaries.
So was this, I'm cutting you off on purpose because obviously this is like personal information. So like I'm saying, was this big lie something that just went and crossed your boundary? Like the boundary that you actually set for yourself, you had limited boundaries. And was this lie a boundary that went past that boundary and that's when you were like, enough is enough?
I think when I sat down and I was confronted, not even confronted, the lie was revealed to me. When the lie was revealed,
this guy Houdini, what the fuck?
He wasn't that magical.
I'll make our relationship disappear.
When the lie was revealed to me, I sat down and started calculating all those things and was like, wait a minute. This is what you just told me, and this is what you just told me, and this is what you just... And then that's when I realized, like, oh my God, I've been lied to this whole time. Honesty is one of the things that I don't even expect just from myself. I expect that from everyone in my life. Like, I expect honesty from everyone because I am so honest with people. I'm like, you got to give me that back. There's a lot of things that I tolerate or I allow, but that is just like one of those things I was just like, and I had that conversation with him.
How was your intuition? Did you have the insight where like, what you're saying might not be 100%?
My intuition was 110%.
Right. I think women's intuition is super crazy.
It was funny because when I started going back to the lies, I remember the exact month where a situation happened and I remember telling him something's off and he's like, oh, you're good, nothing's off, our relationship is good. And I was like,
that's a perfect example. Like when you really think about it, right, it's a perfect example from what we were talking about earlier, right? Because it was like this guy came across as, we got it handled, we're good, don't worry about it, blah 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 blah, but your intuition was, we're not good, like there's an issue here, like there's a deep problem and I know there's a problem, but you didn't vocalize it at that point. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Until you found enough evidence that this is a rigged game.
Right.
And you just been lying. So a guy that thought that he actually thought, well, no, he presented himself like he knew what he was doing, but he just didn't know. And maybe he was the type of guy that just wanted to hurt your feelings from the gate. Right. Or maybe he thought he knew what he wanted. And then when it came down to it, he didn't know. And then he wound up hurting you in the process, right? So that's what I think that a lot of times men get put into a category as the all-knowing.
Right.
And that's not okay. A man is not all-knowing, but also women get into a category where they're not necessarily voicing how they actually feel, and then they're not setting their own boundaries for what's okay and what's not okay. The amount of times that we've had conversations that have helped me understand me, it's countless amount of times. So it's not just that I lead the way and I know what's going on. It's that sometimes you test it. Like, okay, is this really the path that we're going on or not? You know what I mean?
Right. Do you feel like men are not honest about the fact that they don't know what they want because that makes them look weak or less than a man if they vocalize the fact like, I don't know what I want?
I think if I'm speaking for men, I think most men know that women want confidence. I think most men look at the situation and say, how do I get pussy? That's like the step number one. Like as a man, right in middle school, right in middle school, you're like, how can I finagle myself into some pussy? And that's what you say. And then you're like, okay. And then you realize that women love confidence. That's literally the first thing that women say, confidence. Right. If they have confidence, then okay. Right. And then another thing is like they want to laugh or whatever, so that's a part of it also. But yeah, I think that men know that if you're saying, I don't know, it does make you a weaker man in the eyes of a woman.
Yeah.
If a man says, I don't know to another man, doesn't mean that much.
Right.
It's like, I don't know. What do you think? And it's like, well, I think this. All right. We'll go with that. There's a little bit there, a little bit of ego there, but ultimately it's not like I have to present myself in this way so this person sees me as this.
So I wonder if it's just the fact that it requires so much effort to know what you want, so you can be confident in saying, I know what I want, instead of presenting this facade of I know what I want, but I don't know what I want.
I don't think so. I think that it's more so that men don't learn. And what I mean by that, they don't have somebody to teach them. Yeah. I think a lot of men that I know have fathers that don't really teach them those types of things.
And the fathers didn't have fathers to teach them what they
Yeah, it's emotions. It's like, hey, how are we dealing with them? And I don't think men typically talk about that. We talk about the game. We talk about how to fix things.
Right.
Hence, we love sports and we love to fix things. Like, it's very simple. Right. But it's like, well, how do you get women? Well, I don't understand women. That's what your dad says. He's like, I don't get women to this day. You're like, I'm happy I got your mom, but I don't understand women and how they think.
That's really interesting. For me, I'm like, wouldn't it be so much easier if you can work on yourself and get to the point where you knew what you wanted, so then you could confidently say what you want, instead of being like, let me fake this confidence and I don't know what I really want.
What year did you decide to work on yourself?
I started 2018.
What age were you?
I don't know. 2018. I was 29, 28. I'm not sure.
You're like 47.
I know.
No, but no, like what I'm saying is you don't necessarily even know to do that, right? Like, why would you wait until you're 28, 29, 47? Why would you wait that long to work 47. On yourself? You know what I mean? Like, why would you even wait? Why don't you just do it right out the womb? Why don't you just start working on yourself? People just don't even know that's a category that they could even do, right? I wouldn't have worked on myself. I don't know why. I know that I had the issue with being adopted or whatever, and I didn't realize that until middle school, right? And then I was looking for a way to have positive people around me, and nobody was positive around me. So the internet was out, and I solved that problem through YouTube and finding people that did that, right? But that was just, I realized the problem, and then I was trying to fix the problem.
Right.
And that's when it happened. But I don't think that most people reevaluate themselves enough to be able to even take that step.
I think just like the facade part, I think I was definitely faking it. Like, I think I definitely assumed I was a confident human being. It didn't take that interaction until like, I was like, man, this person can put me in so much shambles. I must not have been confident. It must have been fake. And that's when I was like, all right, I need to build myself up. Even if someone was to break my heart, it would just be like, you broke my heart, but I am still me. Like, I'm still a collective, the person that I am. So that's why I was like, wouldn't it be easier to not fake the facade, but actually be confident?
Right. And obviously the answer is yes, right? Yeah. The answer is absolutely yes. But I think people don't have that awareness that they actually even have an issue a lot of times.
Yeah, that's true.
But I do want to ask you a question. Do you think the trial and error is necessary?
Do I think trial and error is necessary?
Yeah. So like you were saying that through your previous relationships, you realize that this is not what I need. This is not what I want for myself.
Right.
Do you think that step is necessary for people?
I don't know if necessary is the word. Like, I really wouldn't want someone to go through what I went through.
So like the two things I'm connecting right now, right, is the person that is desperate for love, desperate for acceptance, desperate to be that person that's in a relationship. And then the other thing is the relationship trial and error thing that you went through, right? So if you're going through trial and error of good guy, bad guy, good guy, or whatever, and then you're ultimately coming to a point where it's like, oh, now this is what I want.
Right.
I'm whole and this is what I want. You got to that point through trial and error.
Right.
We know with the scarcity mindset, abundant things don't always translate to them.
Right.
So if I'm giving an advice to somebody that's going through scarcity, is it necessary that they go through trial and error because they're not going to be able to hear what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying. That's what I'm saying. It's hard for me to say necessary. That means they have to go through that. And for me, I think I'm thinking of more of an emotional level. I'm like, is there another way to go about this? Because I would never want someone to go through emotionally what I went through.
Right.
I am very thankful that I went through what I went through. I think it put me in a mindset of there are certain things I will not tolerate. It helped me grow a lot. It helped me build my confidence. It helped me recognize the importance of having the things that there's a void, having that inside of me.
Right.
And I don't know if for me personally, I would have been able to get to that point if there wasn't a trial and error.
So it sounds to me like an initiation. When these fraternities haze people, you go through a hazing ritual, and a lot of times people from the outside are like, oh, that's the worst thing I've ever seen. Why would you do that to people? That doesn't make any sense, right? But then to those people, it creates a stronger bond that could never be broken, right? So it's almost like that. You're going through a fucked up situation in order to be indicted into the club of knowing you and who you are, right? So that's been traditionally what has happened. But if you were told, hey, just do these things and you'll get there, would you listen or not? Like, you know what I mean? Like, would that be enough to be like, okay, I'll listen and I'll just go ahead and do that? And then are the benefits that you actually learned going through that turmoil, those lost benefits that you no longer have because you were just told how to do it, which is better? Like, which situation would be better for you?
I would have loved for me to have been told this is what you need to do, and me actually doing it and not going through the emotional turmoil. I don't want someone else to go through that. Yeah, it's really hard for me to use the word necessary.
So from what I'm hearing is I would have loved to not feel the emotion. Like that emotion was catastrophic and it fucked me up for years, right? However, through that, you were able to establish stronger boundaries.
Right.
To make sure that that would never happen again to you.
Right.
So which is more important through life?
Yeah, I think establishing stronger boundaries obviously is more important.
Okay. So is there a way to establish a strong boundary to that degree without having to go through trial and error?
I know people that are extremely confident people, like naturally, that haven't gone through all the bullshit. I know there are people like that. So that's why I'm like, I don't know if necessary is what I would say, because it seems like it is possible to be a confident person, know boundaries, know how to say no, know how to tell people definitively what you want without being heartbroken and depressed. Like
are those people the people that have worked on themselves as well? Or are those the people that are just starting off out the gate like that?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It's not like an easy question, but like it's the thought that I have, because I'm like, for myself, I had to go through the bullshit. Like I had to be like, oh, this is how I feel. And then I'd be like, oh shit, there's nobody out here that can save me. I need to do this for myself. And then I had to figure it out. And it was a lot of trial and error because I didn't understand. Like I don't understand ways to talk to people in the appropriate way. I don't understand how to fill this void that I have inside of me. And there's a lot of things that I needed to consistently work on. And I consider myself a confident person. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So like just because somebody appears to be confident doesn't necessarily mean that they're bringing that they're not really working on themselves and they're just naturally like that. And then that's the end all be all.
Yeah, I think we all have insecurities and things that we can work on. I think a sociopath is someone that thinks they have nothing to work on and they're a gift from God and they have no flaws. Wait, is that you?
That was like a low-key diss.
Wait, is that you?
Whoa, you just defined Brian.
You definitely think you have flaws, babe. Yeah, you definitely think you have things to work on.
My flaws are perfections, though.
Oh, my God. Okay. But I think everyone has that in their life where they're like, there are things that I need to work on. So yeah, we can all be confident, but I don't know if this is something that needs to go through trial and error for you to be an extremely confident person, or this is something that, you know, you can read a book and you'd be like, you know what, this is what I need to do in my life.
Yeah. And it's okay not to know. I think that I learned the majority of what I've learned was through research and through people that were doing a good job. And yeah, there's still imperfections that I have personally that I'm working through, but how I get past it is by learning.
Right.
That's the only way that you can better yourself and improve the things that you're doing ultimately. So I think that the quality of the trial and error that you go through is going to be better, right? Like if someone tells you, hey, this is the right way to do things,
right,
you're going to follow like 60 or 70% of that. So the quality of your issues are going to be better than if you were to have not have heard anything from anybody and then you were just going up and down on a roller coaster and trying to figure shit out on your own. it's kind of difficult to put yourself in a position of somebody that's in despair when you're on the other end of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do think that if people can get to a point where they want to better themselves instead of relying on somebody else to fulfill them,
right.
I think that's the change in focus that we're kind of talking about.
Yeah.
That's needed.
Yeah, I think so too. I think when you are in a place, there is an extreme void that you feel like you need to fill with someone else, you're willing to accept anything to fill that void. And unfortunately, when that happens, rarely is the good person going to come into your life that fills that void. Normally what happens is when you're desperate and you are willing to accept anything, you literally get the bottom of the barrel. So it would be great for you to get to a place where you're confident and you're able to accept what is right for you. That's the ideal situation.
Drop the mic.
That was not a drop mic. That was like
the mic's right there. Drop it.
No. That would be like screwing. It would be a whole process.
All right. Well, that concludes another great episode of the 1024. If you also enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and follow the links in our show notes so you don't miss out on any of our content. If you have a question that you would like covered on our podcast, go to our website at the1024podcast.com. Click the tab on the right-hand side and just submit your question. All right. And remember to love God, family, and yourself always. And in always. Take care.
Bye.